Yeah, from Baton Rouge to Norman, Columbus to Clemson, they are celebrating. The hard work is over. And now the really hard work begins. Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, LSU, Oklahoma, PlayStation Fiesta Bowl, Ohio State, and Clemson. The Final Four have been revealed. As we welcome you to Championship Drive Rankings Reaction presented by Capital One alongside Jonathan Dilma, Dan Orlovsky, Greg McElroy. I'm Kevin Connors. How about 18 national championships between the four programs left standing here in the college football playoff? JV, what's your initial reaction to the committee's initial submission?
I'm glad they made a decision because we sure couldn't all morning long. They got it right. LSU number one. I can't knock them for it. Ohio State have been tremendous all year long, but LSU 1, OSU 2, Clemson most dangerous at 3, and then Oklahoma, congrats on getting in.
Yeah, I think that LSU being 1 is warranted. You know, going into that game yesterday, I thought no chance that LSU jumps Ohio State. Because to be number 1, you have to go take it from someone. And what I saw the difference between Ohio State and LSU was I credit Ohio State, right? I mean, the character and the resolve of a champion showed up. But the dominance of a champion showed up for LSU. And that's why LSU, it's not should they be number 1. You got to prove to me that they shouldn't be number 1. And so I'm okay with them being 1.
Yeah, essentially what the committee was tasked with was picking your favorite child amongst 3. Because all 3 were the candidates. Even Clemson, with their lack of strength of schedule, they've been as dominant as anybody in college football. The reality is they cited the concerns they had for LSU's defense. Those concerns these last couple of weeks were addressed. And then when you look at the resume, LSU's resume has been pretty remarkable with the offense and now their defense coming to their own. So I have no issue with LSU at 1, but Ohio State and Clemson, they're in the Fiesta Bowl. It's going to be a matchup.
I know this. We've got 4 unbelievable offenses that we're going to see in the semifinal games. The potential for Oklahoma, who knows, to play spoiler. I don't know if it would be Buster Douglas beating Mike Tyson, but they'll be heavy underdogs going
into
that
that level.
It might be on that level.
Definitely on that level.
Oh, come on. I know you are not on the Oklahoma can contend train. No. I think we need to put a little bit more respect to Lincoln Riley and Alex Grinch. And there's 3 weeks to prepare for that football game. 2 really good coaches.
All right, who you got, LSU or Oklahoma?
I'm taking LSU.
Okay. Thank you. I wanted to do it. I thank you. Beat me to it.
But that doesn't mean that I don't think that OU can't be formidable, that they can't make it a football game.
They will. They made it a football game last year, but we knew they were going to lose. So you just want a fun game. It'll be a fun game, guys.
Fun. Everyone's going to try their hardest. I'm really looking forward to it.
Wasn't a lot of deliberating there. Dan got to his decision really quickly. Well, we got 3 hours to break it all down. Reese and the guys have been doing it all afternoon. Why don't we send it over to them for their thoughts in just a bit. But we begin by taking a look at the matchups. Ohio State and Clemson in the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl. Tantalizing matchup, number 2 versus number 3. Combined 26-0. Buckeyes 633 points. Tigers 605 points. Ohio State 5 wins against top 25 teams. Clemson just 2 wins against ranked teams. We will delve into whether or not that should be held against them. Of course, we've seen this matchup before. 2016 Fiesta Bowl, complete domination by Deshaun Watson and the Tigers, 31-0. Watson threw for a touchdown, ran for 2. Wayne Gallman had a tug. Kendall Joseph, Ben Boulware on that D, pitched the shutout of J.T. Barrett, handing the Buckeyes perhaps the worst loss of the Urban Meyer era. Perhaps. It was domination back in 2016. Will that be the case this time around? You know, this could have been the national title game, and I think that we would all have been okay with that. JV, your initial reaction to these 2 heavyweights colliding?
Well, one, what we just saw, that 31-0 domination, completely different team. If you remember that year, we were talking about the ups and downs that Ohio State had. I didn't see ups and downs all season long from Ryan Day and this Ohio State team. I've seen them, frankly, ascend the whole time and then hit a little bit of a lull defensively, in particular, against these last 3 matchups. So when I look at the matchup now with Clemson and Ohio State, man, when I say they, literally both sides match up really well against each other. And the biggest thing is that the corners for Clemson, they have the speed. They have the speed, and because they have the speed to keep up with any wide receiver Ohio State puts out there, you can run whatever you want, Brett Venables. You can blitz, you can disguise, you can do whatever you want, and that's going to be a challenge for Justin Fields and Ohio State offense.
Yeah, I think coming off yesterday's game with Justin Fields against Wisconsin, right? Like, you saw a little bit of struggle by him of just, you know, seeing some different defenses, seeing some different kinds of pressures and coverages. Well, he hasn't seen anything like what Venables will do with Clemson. Everything that Clemson lost in their D-line last year went to the back 7. And I kind of say, like, their defense will look like Star Wars at time. Like, as a quarterback, you'll stand there and be like, Greg, like, okay, pressure's coming from here. I have to throw the ball into pressure there, but there's 4 other people standing there waiting for me to throw the football. And so they will look at that tape from yesterday and go, okay, I like doing this kind of pressure package against Justin Fields, as good as he's been this year. And then the flip side is Ohio State's defense against the Clemson offense. It is who are you going to commit to stop? Yeah. Like, even if you commit to stop Travis Etienne, he is the best back in the country on contact. Like, he never goes down on first hit. And so then the challenge is, well, if you commit to that, well, Trevor Lawrence and Higgins and everybody, they can. And Trevor Lawrence is playing as good as Joe Burrow. Like, no one's talking about that. Trevor Lawrence is playing as good as any quarterback in America right now and can make more don't do those types of throws in really keyhole type windows. More than any quarterback in the playoff.
Yeah, I think what's amazing, too, is Chase Young. We're obviously spent a lot of time about Chase Young and working against that Clemson offensive line. If there's one area that I look at and I say maybe that's not the most elite unit, it's probably the Clemson offensive line in this matchup. Everyone else is just so incredibly sound. But now Trevor Lawrence, not only has he been accurate throwing the football, he's disruptive with his legs. He's been a better runner this year than he was at any point last season. If you look back at Clemson over the years, when Deshaun Watson was a quarterback, they've ramped up those quarterback runs in a postseason setting. So I would expect the same from Clemson to try to neutralize Chase Young and that rush that we're going to see from Ohio State's defense.
I mean, how many NFL players are going to be on that field when they play that game? How many first round?
Out of the 44?
Probably like 22 when every time. 11 and 11.
Football, right? Yeah. And we're just beginning to dig in right now. Reese and the guys with much more on the matchups and if the committee, in fact, did get it right.
Ohio State might be able to get a little closure in the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl. Last time they were in the playoff, Clemson destroyed them, 31-0. Now you have the two teams that are top 2 in defensive efficiency, evenly matched game. What does this game turn on, Joey?
Ohio State being behind in the Big Ten championship game was the first time they faced adversity all season long. I believe that makes them a better football team for what they came out and did in the second half. They're going to roll into this game with a little bit of attitude that they're not the number 1 team in the country. They're going out here to face Clemson, a team that last time we were there didn't go so well. So I think the attitude of the team, the focus of the team is going to be different now, and I think they win this game.
I think Ohio State has to run the football, and the identity they've had all season offensively has been J.K. Dobbins running the ball against the best defenses they've seen. He's been physical. He's worn defenses down. But I think Justin Fields being healthy, had the MCL injury late, he'll be healthy in this game, and those zone reads and the scrambles, I think, helps this offense out on the ground. Now, Clemson defensively doesn't have the same first-round NFL talent they had a year ago, but they do fit the run extremely well with linebackers and safeties. They're giving up about 10 points a game. So Ohio State's ability running the ball, I think, goes a long way in determining if they can win this game.
Well, and I think Ohio State, you talk about getting to the quarterback and you talk about covering, because Trevor Lawrence obviously is going to be a big key to this game with his weapons. They can do it. Chase Young can do it. A multitude of other guys can do it. Okudah, Wade, Arnett in the back end. They've got guys that can make it hard. I think which running back can get down? Like, can Etienne, who's not talked about obviously enough, can Etienne get down? Can J.T. Dobbins get down? Which running back has the best day that helps their quarterback with some balance and helps us in that department so they can make some big plays?
We haven't mentioned Trevor Lawrence. How about that?
Oh, he'll be there, and he'll be good right there. Ohio State and Clemson, what a great showdown on December 28th.
In the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl, Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, mighty number 1 LSU against the champions of the Big 12, Oklahoma. The Tigers' resume reads like Warren Buffett's portfolio. 4 wins against the committee's top 12 teams, 40 points or more at least 10 times this season. Oklahoma, the 7-0 start, but then the hiccup at Kansas State. Narrow wins following that. Ultimately, the Big 12 championship game victory over the Baylor Bears. Dan, you kind of walked down that road first. Let's have you talk about here just a bit. I'm not as concerned about Jalen Hurts and the offense scoring points. I know they've played better, but the defense, can they stop LSU enough to stay in the game?
Yes. Now, it's going to have to do a lot to do. All right, so I had that Oklahoma-Kansas State matchup, right? And Oklahoma loves to do a bunch of pre-snap movement. Now, if Oklahoma wins, like, even before, like, the game plan of it, if they get a beat on some of the stuff that LSU can do and they win their pre-snap movement, it's huge because then their secondary plays a lot better. Their secondary is so dependent on the pre-snap movement or the post-snap movement, them creating some kind of pressure and forcing the quarterback to get the ball out. So if Alex Grinch can get a beat on that Joe Brady offense and some tendency That's going to be a huge deal because it's not going to ask those corners, those safeties to have to cover an extended period of time. When Oklahoma's playing good defense, it's because they are doing that and they're penetrating, they're getting downhill, and they're playing super aggressive football. Now, obviously, easier said than done, but that is the formula to go do it. I'm more concerned about the offense for Oklahoma
Really?
than
I'm with you.
I think Oklahoma's offense has become one-dimensional. I really do. Like, I think it's become so much Jalen Hurts' run game, and the pass game, CeeDee Lamb's been great, but other than that, and even that has been a struggle at times. So I'm a little bit more concerned with them scoring enough points.
I'm with you. I look at Oklahoma, and this is probably the first time in my lifetime I've looked at the defense and said, okay, that group's playing pretty well. Yeah. I like what they're doing in a lot of ways. And I look at the offense, and I'm a little bit hesitant to feel great about how they match up because this game very well could be won by a team that's going to score 60. It's just the reality. LSU is going to get their yards. They're going to get their points. Can Oklahoma get off the field? Probably not between the 20s, but in the red zone, they might have a chance. That's the biggest thing. They have to hold them to field goals, not touchdowns. So I'm really worried about Jalen Hurts right now. I know the stats are eye-popping, the numbers are glaring, and he has had a remarkable season in regards to productivity. But if you really look and dive a little deeper into it, he's missed open receivers, and really in the last few games, the final month of the season, he's been loose with the football. We've seen turnovers, we've seen bad decisions, we've seen poor reads, and those things have almost cost them on several different occasions. So he needs to play not just his best game in an Oklahoma uniform, it has to be his best game in his college career in order to keep Oklahoma in this game.
I hear everything you're saying. I go back to why it won't be a formidable game because the weakness is the strength for LSU. The weakness of Oklahoma is what? The secondary.
Okay.
The strength for LSU is what? The receivers.
Right.
So even if Alex Grinch were to give you a nice scheme, confuse the offensive line a little bit, it's jump balls. They can't play it. You're talking about Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. These guys are Sunday players. They're going against average, maybe above average corners, safeties. It's not happening for Oklahoma's defense. So the only thing you can do, the way I look at it, is blitz and continue to blitz because if you get home, that's a win for you. High risk, high reward, right? They go over the top, at least you give Jalen Hurts another shot to throw the ball. Now, it's easier to scheme offensively for a defense than the other way around. So I can see Lincoln Riley saying, hey, look, we can get some yards here. Let's just figure out how to scheme them.
Interesting to think what Reese and the guys are going to have to say about this Oklahoma-LSU matchup. It'll go down in the desert. Reese, what do you think?
Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, one of the semifinals in December 28th, LSU taking on Oklahoma. Jesse, it's perceived that LSU just has a massive advantage against the Sooners. Right. What can the Sooners do to either keep the thing close or pull the upset?
Jalen Hurts has to be special, guys, and he's played in a lot of big games in his career. He's played against LSU in the past as well, but in this game, he has to be great both throwing the football and running it. He's taken on such a task in this offense, carrying the ball 196 times this season. He is the run game. He's going to have to be physical on design runs and on scrambles and throwing the football. He's going to have to throw it into small windows, take advantage of matchups with CeeDee Lamb, and take care of it. He's turned it over. This offense has turned it over 12 times now in their last 6 games. He just has to play his A-plus game for them to have any shot.
He has to find CeeDee Lamb the minute CeeDee Lamb gets man-to-man coverage. I think that is a mismatch no matter who's covering him, even though on the back end LSU is a talented football team. Oklahoma's had turnover issues in this back half of the season, have to take care of the ball. And then they got 6 sacks against Baylor in the Big 12 championship game. They have to duplicate that. Take their chances. Try to see if you can get to Joe Burrow because do not let him sit in the pocket and take advantage of Jefferson and Chase and those guys downfield.
You got to tackle him when you get there, too. That's one of the biggest issues you've
pardon.
seen. But I tell you what, LSU's defense, they have to continue to play really, really well. They've kind of ascended through the last half of the season and, rush the quarterback better. They have to get pressure on Jalen Hurts, tackle Jalen Hurts to the ground. You have to get him on the ground. He's another guy that's really physical, big, stocky cat.
But you really think there's no chance? You think Oklahoma is completely overmatched in this game?
Something about Mary. You're saying there's a chance. No. I don't see any way.
Joe Burrow?
Form. I think Joe Burrow has been too good, too surgical. Oklahoma doesn't have any answers where they can consistently stop him.
It's an improved Oklahoma defense. The Oklahoma defense at least gives them a puncher's chance. They haven't had one in any semifinal before.
Now think about this. Jalen Hurts has played on teams 3-0 against LSU. But pick any of those games, and 11 points would have won any of them. 1 point would have won 2 of them. Wouldn't bet on that this time.
New England game on?
When we come back, Reese will chat with committee chair Rob Mullins. They'll discuss The decision to move LSU ahead of Ohio State